Hello, this is Miss Deegan. I'm making this video as the very first video that we will have every day where I explain what we did in class that day. I haven't done them yet, and the last week and the week before, we were mostly setting up systems. If you're watching this video and you've missed class or you haven't been to too many classes, you really haven't missed much work that you would turn in to me. There's only one thing that I'm asking you to do. We are, though, moving into systems where every day you miss, there will be some piece of work that you're going to be doing. It's just that we believe in the first couple of weeks of class, our job is to help you understand the purpose of the class, to do some name activities and team building activities, and then to also help you understand our systems. So I'm going to explain the systems here. This is our Schoology page, and what you're going to see primarily that will help you is this agenda. The agenda shows exactly what we did in class that day. So the most recent class on Friday, September 3rd, these were our activities. Now, every day is included in this slideshow. So if you press this back arrow, you're going to see Thursday's class, and then Tuesday's, and then the previous week's class. And if I scan through quickly, you'll see what we did the first week was name posters, getting to know you activities. We're starting to sign up for some of the databases we're going to use. And then we did on the last Tuesday where we started our curriculum a little bit more with those name posters. We're getting to know who you are and where you're from. Our whole unit's theme and the year's theme is journeys. But the first week and a half, we wanted to know about your journey. So you did the Where I'm From poems, and you filled out the Mad Libs sheet for those. That is not a grade. It is an activity to help me get to know you and your classmates to get to know you. I do collect them and I decorate the room with them. So once you have them done, do give them to me, but there's no urgency to them. And then last Thursday, we started our curriculum in earnest. So what we did was go through a slideshow about journeys, specifically the Navajo people. And in order to set up this work, we have an activity where I ask you to research a state name and its origins. And then your STEM for that day, which I'll explain what that means, is you explaining your research to me. So I'll start with that, and then I'll go into Friday's activities, which was the very beginning of a story. So for Thursday, September 22nd, you can click on this slideshow, but I'm going to click on it now for you to show you what we did. All right, so day one was Thursday, Native America. So all you do as you listen to my lecture, and this is a lecture, is in class, take notes in your notebook. If you're missing class and you're watching this video, you don't need to go through and take notes because you have the ability to press pause and make sure you understand what I'm saying. I won't collect your notebooks. I will only ask that you learn this information with me in class as best as you can. So if you're watching this video now, I'm asking you to attend to it and make sure that you're gaining information from the lecture that you can apply and show me in your writing for the day. If you don't understand the assignment for the day and you don't understand the writing, it's probably because something in the lecture escaped your notice. So we will find out those gaps when I see your writing. All right, so we looked at Native America, and we started by looking at this poem by Joy Harjo. We wanted to go into those Mad Lib poems to connect your journeys to the journeys of the Native Americans. And so we talked about art and what it is that we make. We made these poems, we made these Mad Libs poems that were sort of a light art, and I started asking your classmates, what is art? Do we consider this art? When we think about the Native peoples in this country, do we consider the artifacts they produced art, pottery, and things that show us what they made long, long ago? So that brought us into a discussion that was much longer about how do people come to even be on this continent. So in my lecture, I asked students to take notes, and I've explained that. We watched a video about human population. If you're watching this slideshow right now, I'll ask you to pause my video and go and watch this 5-minute video, which is linked on the slideshow. What it does is show the growth of human population across the world. It shows you how there were a lot of people living in Africa and the Middle East a long time ago, and then different human population centers sprung up in Asia and then Europe, and then slowly made their way over to the Americas. The gist of all of this is that Americans, Native Americans, came to be when people walked over from the Asian continent across the Bering Strait, or maybe by boats through the Pacific. And we talked about that theory and studied it for a little while. I made sure to explain that all of this is it's a bit unclear. It's theoretical. So there's some controversy in how did people come to be here. Was it by boats from the Australian and Pacific Island spaces, or was it from the Bering Strait? And when was it? When I was in high school, they said with confidence that 13,000 years ago, peoples came to the Americas. But now that date is 20,000 years. So in the 20 years since I've been in high school, already those things are changing. But we can say with some confidence these ranges that humans evolved in the African continent and nearby 70 to 50,000 years ago. You hear the range, that's 20,000 years, and then slowly made their way over to the Americas. This is the bonus slide we talked about briefly. So these are the paths of human migration. And we looked at how the Americas were, at least we know, among the last continents to be settled. North America and South America. And so we want to ask ourselves in this class, what were those early peoples like? How do we know now, even in our country in 2021, where the evidence is for these early American peoples? So those are pieces of evidence that people have been here in this country for a really long time. And I moved into more of the modern day meaning like the last 2,000 to 10,000 years. In this state alone, we have the names of lots of early peoples. The Monacan tribe has been living in this area in central Virginia for 10,000 years. So we have exactly what we were just discussing, an early people that's reflected to us even now in some of the names of streets, like the Monacan Trail, which is 29, and the Seminole Trail, which is 29 when you go through town, that already we're seeing evidence for these early peoples in our society today. So the activity we did, and what I'll ask you to do, is we researched the state names in our country. I assigned each student a region. I asked them to research the states in that region. And then I asked them to figure out, where did the state name come from? For example, the state name Virginia comes from the word virgin and is named for Queen Elizabeth I, who was the Virgin Queen because she never married. So our state name, Virginia, is connected to Queen Elizabeth, which means it has British origins. That's what I asked students to do. To find out the state's origin that you're assigned, you Google state name plus etymology or state name plus name meaning. For example, if I give you Missouri, you could Google Missouri plus etymology or Missouri plus name origin. So if you were absent, I asked you to pick a state from region 1 just to balance things. So if you're watching this video, you can pick one of these states from region 1, which curls all the way under and includes Alaska and Hawaii. So you can pick Alaska, Hawaii, Washington, Oregon, Montana, Idaho, Wyoming, or the Dakotas. All right. And once you have that state name, research it. We came together as a class and we color-coded our map to try to figure out where are the French influences in our country, where are the British influences, where are the American Indian influences, and where are the Spanish influences. And what we found is that in general, the Southwest has Spanish influences. The large West and Middle West has American Indian influences. This Southeast has British influences all the way up the coast, and the French have a very small influence in the Northeast. So we saw the way that different empires have come into our country to have influence on how our states were named. That's what you'll find as well. So your writing for the day is to use your big Google Doc for your very first entry. And here's how you do that. You go back to Schoology and you open up this big Google Doc. It's kind of like a digital journal for the class. You'll do all your writing there. You'll click on it and you'll open it. It's going to immediately ask you to open up this big Google Doc, this document, which we will then be able to see. Once you open it once, we can see it forever. And it will ask you to fill out the first stem, which is here. So you write your state name that you chose in this blank, and then you fill in what it means. We're asking you to write the same sentence 3 times, which is strange, but it's because we're really playing with complex sentences in this class. So you're going to have to answer or end your sentence 3 different ways. So I'll do it for you here, and then I want you to do it yourself. So let's say I write Missouri means people with canoes. And I'm going to put that in quotes just so it's clear. And then I have to answer this and statement. So I'm going to say Missouri means people with canoes, and just copying it and getting ready. That is still reflected in the ways that people who live near the Mississippi rely on boats and barges for their trade. All right, and now I have to do Missouri means people with canoes, but you won't find many canoes there now except for recreation. And then Missouri means people with canoes, so see how I'm just copy pasting it just to get ready for the next part. So we can infer that early peoples relied on canoes for their trade. It's okay if ideas repeat themselves a little. The goal is to feel how those conjunctions in the middle change the meaning of the sentence. If the but statement for you is difficult, you are not alone. That is the hardest one. All right, so this is your work that I'm looking for if you've missed class. We didn't do a STEM Friday, so really this captures the work that we have gotten so far and turned into me and Miss Loving.